It's every Red Raiders' favorite podcast. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
Part of me's intrigued, part of me's a little worried. We were promised a special rejoiner at 3:30 by Brennan Riker. Came in a little bit too giddy, so who knows what that'll be. We'll find out in 15 minutes. In 30 minutes, we will go back in time. It is Tech Talk on Double T 97.3. Clint, Gus, and Brennan going to 6 o'clock today. Let's hit you up with today's top headlines. Monterey and Coronado will be on the high school fan zone tonight at 6 o'clock on 100.7 The Score. After that, a little playoff baseball. The Reds and the Dodgers going toe-to-toe, perhaps cleat to cleat. Again, that is a 7:30 start on 100.7 The Score. We already had one final earlier. To me, if you didn't have, Gus, the brand and the rivalry between the Red Sox and the Yankees, the one that I would be the most interested in is one that played out earlier, at least in Game 1, between the Tigers and Guardians. And mostly it's because of how just how their story unfolded, and the Guardians being just so bad for a big portion of the season and willing their way into the playoffs, and then the Tigers on the other side falling apart,
limping,
and then finding a way to survive the last weekend, and then winning the game.
And then, of course, winning the game 2-1.
It helps when you have Skubal, 2-1 final there.
Skubal was everything you would imagine him to be. 13 strikeouts, and the Cleveland gets the leadoff guy in the ninth. The third with nobody out. A couple of strikeouts took care of that. I mean, hey, that Tigers operation today played, and most importantly pitched like they had done most of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And, just fantastic. Not this last month, but, the way they had been all year.
Now you can
close today, and he was outstanding again, pitching around, running on third, nobody out. Just, okay, I need a couple Ks here. Bing, bang, boom.
You can hear Game 2 of that series tomorrow, same time as you did today, 11:30, 100.7 The Score. Your game going on right now, the Padres and the Cubs, and another tight, low-scoring game so far, 1-0 in favor of the Padres. The Cubs with just a hit so far in that game. And then the Red Sox and Yankees, they'll play their first game 5 o'clock, first pitch tonight. We have officially the NFL recap now after 2 Monday Night Football games went final. The Dolphins picked up their first win with a 27-21 win over the Jets. The Jets somehow look better and yet are 0-4. Look better in some ways, but still 0-4. The Broncos blew out the Bengals, 28-3 final over there. It's like the Bengals don't have Joe Burrow or something.
Yeah.
And maybe I skipped over this news. The biggest news was Tyreek Hill, dislocating his knee.
Yeah, and he got the ACL with it.
Yeah.
I think that was reported today, and he's done for the year.
That was gnarly.
I saw a tag. I haven't seen it.
Well, I believe just one look in slow motion, and it was enough.
Yeah, the alert I got, I don't remember if it was through fantasy football or I don't know, one of the umpteen too many I get, said, and again, this wasn't just from a friend of mine. It was like Tyreek Hill suffers a gruesome knee injury. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna not seek that one out. Seen enough of those.
Yeah. Texas Tech announced another sellout. In fact, just one more needs to happen. That's the UCF game is the one that I am going to go ahead and guesstimate that will be sold out as well. But today's was for the matchup against BYU on November 8th.
Yeah, if you're buying tickets for any of those other games, you're everything but the UCF game. You're on the secondary market, or start looking. Because if you're the guy that shows up at the tailgate and anybody got an extra ticket, it's okay to ask, but you're a little less likely to.
And I'm excited about that BYU game. I'm still curious of what they're going to end up being offensively. They survived Colorado this past weekend, but I don't think they played their best football. The defense has been really good so far. And I think they have good offensive pieces. I just don't know how consistently they can put it together with, I would say still a very promising but still unproven young quarterback. What does he do the first time he really gets punched in the mouth by a team? We'll find out. But I hope,
hopefully
Gus,
that happens here.
I hope that they – I hope they're undefeated by the time they get here, because that would be a big-time ranked matchup. And as Fox made it crystal clear at one point, there was only one ranked team on your schedule. Now there's more. Shocker that works out that way when you let the season progress a little bit more. And who knows, maybe it'll end up and Arizona State won't be ranked when you see them. Maybe BYU won't be ranked when you see them, but I would like for them to be. Certainly would like for them to be.
Yes, sir.
Sierra Grizzle for Texas Tech Volleyball was named Defensive Player of the Week for the second time. She posted back-to-back 20-dig performances against Baylor and Houston last week and is currently the Big 12 leader in digs per set at 4.78 and total digs with 277. She was at Wyoming for 2 seasons now, a junior over here, and has had a good start to the year. Hit us up on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Thoughts, comments, questions. Shelly said, of all the pen pals in the world, you would choose a gruff 70-year-old man, Kansas. That's right. His personality for Bruce Bochy feels like home. Feels like all the farmers I grew up with. Bullfighter said Angels don't have their skip either.
There you go. Yep.
Also had the eye emojis with it, just for fun. Yeah. And also put up, the news of
that's right,
the Angels parting ways with Ron Washington and Ray Montgomery will not return to manage the Angels in 2026.
Montgomery was interim, right?
I believe so. Yeah. What if we kind of have the discussion in coaching searches? It typically feels like, they went this style of coach this time, or maybe the young and up and comer, however you want to call it. But baseball doesn't really seem to follow those rules.
Yeah, you'll see it sometimes, but baseball doesn't lend itself to screaming and yelling every day, and so even the most sort of edgy manager doesn't come across like, with, I don't know who we're thinking of there, but with basketball coach screaming and yelling, when guys miss defensive assignments and that kind of stuff, that kind of energy's you can do it. It gets tiresome to hear that over 162 games. We just don't see it very often. There's some one of the guys that probably pushes pretty hard, relatively speaking, is managing the Brewers, and they had a good run this year. That's interesting. I think the Rangers may counter an older guy with a younger guy in Schumacher.
It is Tech Talk on Double T 97.3.
The podcast put together with Red Raider fans in mind. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Hour number 2 of Tech Talk, the playoffs for MLB baseball off and running today. Clint Scott, Dr.
I just
Mike
hope we
Kessler.
can win a game.
Was that me or was that the real clip? We'll never know.
It's uncanny.
Yeah. I do think the Jim Mora was better than the Owen Wilson. Probably not better than the Tim Allen, but, on the scale of spot-on impressions that Brennan's heard from this desk.
The Tim Allen one made me give you the stare of what the blank is going on.
To be fair with that one, by the time you were tuning in, we were just grunting. Doing the best version of it.
Well, everyone's heard your Owen Wilson, and now in your playoffs. Now, can you do your Tim Allen?
Well, that was more of Gus's impression. I was just having fun echoing it.
Well, we got to share with the rest of the class.
I'm good. Hour number 2 of Tech Talk. You got us on Double T 97.3. Clint, Gus, and Brennan. See, it's perfect. This on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. You can hit us up there as well. Shelly had this. Can we talk for just a few about J-Rod and the Witten Award? For all those who say we just bought a team, it was a requirement that you also be a good human being. More than some of the blue bloods require, we don't give bags to scumbags.
Yeah, and then you put that with you put that nomination or watch list or semifinalist or whatever it is with the Campbell Award last week, and that's extremely tall cotton.
I think Jacob Rodriguez, Ben Roberts, and John Curry. You have, and I understand John Curry. You can. He's the star safety. At this point, I just always, it just seems fair and right to just lump him in with the linebackers when you're looking at the groups. But when I look at like those three together, I think that they are somehow being underrated as a unit because it may be overshadowed. Overshadowed is a better way to say it because no one's saying that like that trio isn't playing well or anything like that. And then you have a highlight game, obviously, against Utah where you have each one make massive plays and Jacob Rodriguez make a ton of massive plays that earns Big 12 Player of the Week. But whenever I feel like the national coverage is talking about the defense, I get it. Every single week, like they're going to start with, speaking of bags, they're going to start with the story of, especially if it's their first time covering you, like, oh, they spent all this money in the portal. And look, I know that can be annoying
which
to
involves
some.
the two high-priced edge rushers.
Yes, I know that can be annoying, especially if you have, if you're a fan and you've been invested in this and you're tired of that story and you don't want that, like, well, that's not like the only reason that you're playing well right now. But at the same time, it's a compliment because you were a huge, huge story in the offseason. But with it, they're going to talk about either the defense as a whole or like what you're saying, they're going to start with what a lot of those big price tags came with, and that's the defensive line. And I don't think your linebackers have been talked about enough with where they stack up in the conference because for my money, which isn't a lot, I don't have a lot of money, but if I had a lot of money, it would be you have the best linebackers in the conference.
That'll be fine. I think a big part of that is Rodriguez in some ways may overshadow his mates there just in the sense that he's the preseason defensive player of the year in the Big 12, and so when they do well, he's going to be one that gets noticed. But in this last game, he and Roberts punched fumbles loose, and then he had the pick later on. But the production out of that group has been so good, and I think a big part of it too is it fits the narrative better to talk about all of the acquisitions across the front, really the front four, but there's even more than just those four, because they brought in 5 or 6 in that group. Count A.J. Holmes, anyway.
Because if you start with just the edge rushers and then look, they did it on the inside of that defensive line as well.
All those linebackers are, local guys, I guess. I'll say Rodriguez started his career at UVA, but this is year number 3, 4 for him here. Yeah,
but you're the first one to bring him in as a defensive player.
Yeah, that's right. What do you think UVA thinks about? Of course, right now they're still celebrating the win over Florida State. But
they're still partying down, aren't they?
Hey, we had that guy. Like 2 years later, you wake up and you go, hey, Did you guys notice that Rodriguez, of course, their coach and staff may have flipped over 3 times since then, who knows,
Right.
but thinking, isn't that the guy that was here as a quarterback? Isn't that him?
And didn't we throw him the ball and he had 8 or so rushes as a running back too?
It's
Yeah.
like, just the...
That is funny to think about. And it just shows you just how good of an athlete
Right.
he is. And I don't know if
And smart and just...
sure.
all the things, on and off the field. Yeah.
I'm really excited to see what his career past. Obviously, I'm not ready to skip to that past this year, but I'm excited to see what his career could look like after the college level or past the college level, because it just seems like he is one that could fit in just about any system, is athletic enough to make plays, has the just the sheer tackling volume that you'd be looking for if I were an NFL team. But I'm also looking forward to seeing what this NFL draft class looks like as a whole, because you're going to have a lot of guys up for it.
Yeah, and on that side of the ball too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a great thing. We've had some years where we've churned out receivers and a lineman here, and maybe a quarterback there, but we're probably going to turn out more defenders this time around. Of course, I say that I have to really think through the list, because we did bring in a couple guys that were two-year
Right.
guys in terms of eligibility picture. But yeah, it's just nice to be talking about a draft class and the number of prospects that it's equal sides and maybe more prominent on the defensive side, which has been a long time. We've had some really good ones over there, don't get me wrong, but I'm talking about the sheer volume of it.
Sure. Well, that's what I was trying to think. What's the most defenders in one draft class that you've ever had? Which certainly some homework we could do.
Okay, let me dig through the
easy.
media guide,
Yeah.
Clint. Who can forget 1985 when
Reading is hard. It is Tech Talk on Double T 97.3. Play of the day when we come back.
The podcast put together with Red Raider fans in mind. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
It is Tech Talk on Double T 97.3. Clint, Gus, and Brennan. All right. Brennan, why don't you have a play of the day or whatever? Who cares?
2 balls, 2 strikes. Spores kicks and fires. He struck him out looking. It's over. It's over. The Rangers have won the World Series. Ranger fans, you're not dreaming. The Rangers are the World Series champions. After 52 years in Texas, 63 years of the franchise. The wait is over, and the celebration has begun.
Well, with the announcement that Bruce Bochy will not be returning as the manager of the Texas Rangers, I decided to play the one thing that I will remember Bruce Bochy for, and that is for leading that 2023 team to the World Series and then winning it all for the first time in our franchise history. I think, last 2 years, extremely disappointing that we didn't make the playoffs after a World Series run, but at the end of the day, he stepped in and knew what to do, knew how to handle that 23 roster and lead them to a outstanding playoff run. And so, yeah, I kind of figured that he wasn't going to return after this season, but he's certainly going to go down as a Texas Ranger legend.
That's something else I think is interesting. If, it seems like it would, if it were the case, it would be the Giants if he would be managing somewhere else. But if you were going to hire him at this point, don't you think you'd have to be fully convinced within your organization that you were ready to win right now? Like, you're not bringing him in for a rebuild or anything like that.
Yeah. Not at this point in his career, not at 70.
I'm 70.
The flip side of that is he's not signing up for it. I mean, that's
right.
That's
yeah, I don't think he'd be
match.
looking
No.
for that either.
See, and I don't know if he wants to go back to San Francisco to be a manager. He might want to go back to be in a kind of a front office advisory role for the Giants, just because that's his That's the place where he became a legend, a legendary.
Which is what the
Hall of Fame
Rangers
manager.
offered him as well, because this
Right.
was a mutual agreement
And I
for
knew
this to
that
be
they
the
weren't going
decision.
to fire him, and everyone, this is like, oh, why don't they fire Bochy? Well, you're not going to fire a Hall of Fame coach, especially after he led you to a World Series 2 years ago. You give him the opportunity to say, hey, we're going to mutually part ways, and this isn't going to be a firing. It's just one of those things where we'll part ways, shake hands, and move forward.
Yeah, if they hadn't, I'm very curious, Gus, if they hadn't mutually agreed,
Yeah,
like if
then
they
it coulda
came to
gotten
him,
ugly.
right?
Yeah.
If they came to him like, we appreciate it. We're thankful for everything you've done for the organization. We think we would like you to step down, and he was like, no, I'm not going to step down. No, I'm not going to do that. If they would have been like, all right, you're going to be on the hot seat next year, or if it would have got messy in the offseason. Because usually if they're saying we would like for you to step down, if you do say no, the organization typically doesn't go, oh, okay. All right, we tried. Good talk.
Yeah, it makes me wonder what his ambitions are. Either he's got a clear path to San Francisco, or just like, yeah, I get it. I see it. I see it too. Yeah, remember who's running the Giant show? It's Buster Posey, and that's one of his guys. So
Yeah.
that him. I don't. I mean, I'm sure there's loads of confidence in Bochy from Buster, but I don't. I mean, if that goes south, you're sitting there with a 71-year-old manager. That's tough.
What an odd way for his Rangers tenure to end, especially when you look at the entirety of it, right? Just to give the organization something it's never had before, to give Rangers fans a reason to love you forever, but also something they've never been able to say we have accomplished. We got close twice, didn't quite get there, and the next two seasons be like, oh man, I can't wait to see what the encore is like. And then just to have, I don't know, this year wasn't really last year felt like a thud. This year I wouldn't describe it as a thud, but man, you just had so many issues.
I mean, Josh was excited about the offense, not just in stuff he muttered to me up there before the first pitch luncheon, but the stuff he said to the media and the stuff that he said on stage. Like, man, we got a chance to be really good offense. And so.
Well,
And then it turned out the pitching staff is one of the best in franchise history.
Yeah, if I had told you guys, and especially you, Brennan, the Rangers fan, if I didn't tell you anything offensively, if I just said, like, everything you thought the pitching staff could be, it would reach those heights and maybe a little bit higher, you'd probably be going, oh, okay, so we're the best team in the American League. Good to know. We're on a runaway train meeting up with the Dodgers in the World Series. It might be the favorite. Who knows?
Yeah, at that point, if that was the case at the beginning of the season, it would have been like, yeah, one-way ticket to the World Series, please. Thank you. And it was a completely different story this year. Got turned upside down on its head. And I don't know where this season got lost in translation, because you have pieces that can hit. And historically speaking, those players have hit well in their careers. But it didn't happen this season, and so it was just an internal struggle, and I don't know where it starts.
Well, you went through two pitching coaches to get there too. I wonder if let's get ahead of ourselves here and assume that Schumacher's hired. Do you think he retains the Boone as hitting coach? I mean, he was probably part of the decision to bring him in. Either that or not that it was his decision, but
surely he
Chris
got
Young.
some like, hey, this is what we're thinking.
I think
What
this
do
is a
you
good
think?
idea.
Yeah. I guess I don't know for sure, but I would venture to guess that he would bring him back, because especially since that was a not at the start of the season hire. But who knows?
Yeah, if you believe in his ideas,
Yeah.
then what you're saying would make sense.
To me, if it was if I'm getting rid of people, I think he's whatever this looks like, cleaning house all over the place, and it's not just like, you know what, I'm actually out on you, Boone. I didn't mean it. Like any nice things I said in any sort of meetings and staff get-togethers, I was just kidding. I would think it would be multiple people that he's like, we're starting this from scratch, and I'm bringing in, or at least going to try to bring in, all of these guys that I want on my staff, and we're building from the ground up, and we're no longer looking at this as but we just made the World Series a couple seasons ago. I'm just saying if that's the case.
Sure.
And I don't think that is.
I wonder if, and if it's Schumacher, there'd probably be a better chance to retain some of those guys that are on the big league staff because he's already been involved with them.
Right.
Albeit from a front office role, but as opposed to it being a complete, like you're saying, a complete emptying,
complete
cleaning
overhaul.
the house, and bringing in someone from the outside, and that's still a possibility. We're just talking about Schumacher. It sounds like is the favorite to take the job, and he's been within the organization, so maybe he looks at Mike Maddox and goes, "Hey, I don't want you going anywhere."
Mm-hmm.
The podcast that finishes your workday in a very Red Raider way. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Things heard in a Rangers hitting meeting for 500. That conversation. Oh, it is Tech Talk on Double T 97.3. Clint Scott, Dr. Mike Gustafson, Brennan Riker behind the glass taking care of us. We will have the high school fan zone tonight at 6 o'clock over on 100.7 The Score. Monterey at 6. Coronado at 6:30.
I really hope Brett Boone doesn't use the phrase batting percentage. I wouldn't guess,
money is
but...
on not. Yeah, my money is on not. It would be funny. I would if you heard him saying it like an interview, I would play that clip all the time. That would be my new Rickroll.
Oh, yeah.
That would be my new Rickroll. Just be like, did you hear the latest news of this horrible firing from college football? And just be like, no, like play the clip, and then it would just be him saying it. You have the Houston Cougars this week. I really like at least I like the whole answer. I really like the start of this answer. Head coach Joey McGuire met with the media yesterday, and he was asked if the 4-0 Houston Cougars were a trap game.
Yeah, I think they're 4-0, so I don't think we'll be worried about any kind of trap game. They're a really good football team. Defensively, they've done a good job of stopping the run. They're one of the top teams in the country on defense. They've done a good job of creating turnovers. On the offensive side of the ball, I think they have one of the best tight ends in the conference, if not in the country. He caught a huge pass, to really let them, they came back. It shows a lot of character of them coming back. They were down 24-10 at Oregon State. He made a big play, but he's a really good football player, high targeted, catches the ball, 6'7". Quarterback is playing really well, and they do some quarterback design runs, but he does a good job extending plays with his feet, and so it's going to be a really good game. They're 4-0 for a reason. Willie Fritz does a good job of not beating himself. His team does a really good job. They're very disciplined, so it's going to be a really good game.
Gus, it's my opinion that we use the phrase, the collective, we use the phrase trap game far too liberally and really don't.
Yes.
We just use it so much. I don't think we actually get what a trap game is.
It's like a lot of things that get thrown out there, and then if that ultimately happens, because he thought it was a trap game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's
it's complete disrespect of Houston and their 4-0 record to think that this is a trap game. Do you think Houston's going, man, that game's a trap game as we head on to whoever? No, we're playing a 4-0 opponent, right? And we're the ranked ones. I get it, but Come on, man.
I just, to me,
it was the first question asked, by the way, in that media availability, and Joey. If Joey was a bigger, what is it, the word you like, horses patoot?
Horses patoot.
He could have been highly disrespectful to that question, and he wasn't, or the asker of the question, and he usually is not. 99% of the time he is not. And so he just treated the question for what it was, but if you're ever going to get Joey McGuire to sound dismissive, that might have been it right there. Like, well, they're 4-0, so
shut it down. Let me tell you what I think of Houston now.
Yeah, and we'll talk about their defense, a really good tight end, they run the ball, da-da-da-da.
And that's what, Gus, if I, like, whatever your definition is, and the other thing is that everyone's definition can be a little bit different. That's fine. But if I told you, okay, there is or was, maybe you've already played it, there was a trap game on the schedule, what would that be to you? Because in my mind,
it would be next week against Kansas if you're asking me.
Oh, okay, really?
Yeah, before the game in Tempe. Yes.
I guess I just feel like Kansas's offense is going to have you very focused over there. But again, it's like, to me, you've already played it. It would have been Oregon State at home. You're off to 2-0, maybe. And I don't think they were, and clearly they took them seriously. But if there would have been one, I could have seen maybe that fitting the description. I could also see, I don't know, maybe some would pick Oklahoma State because you're looking around the corner at Manhattan, that has been, even with K-State's issues, which they looked pretty good on Saturday, that Manhattan's been a house of horrors for you, right? And Oklahoma State is just so bad, that line's going to be huge.
But even then, you just have that being called a trap game because of our history in Manhattan.
And that's why I have
even if they're 3-6 at the time, K-State.
I mean Oklahoma State is the trap game, but so I don't know. I feel like we throw that term around too much.
Hope. I think there's going to be a game that, for whatever reason, you got to win it 45-38. Maybe that is that Kansas game where they come out and score, and there's a point at which the folks on the sideline and maybe everyone involved say, you know what, this defense has been carrying us this year. Now it's our turn, offense. Which is really a 180 from where it's been around here for so long, where the offense had to carry us, and then there'd be a couple games with the defense. It's most notably the last two trips to Ames have been that way. Like, okay, offense ain't going to carry us. Let's go. And the D did and pulled off tight, low scoring, punt the ball, field position type games. But I feel like there's going to be one of those in here somewhere. But I can't tell you when it is. And like you said, it may be Kansas.
Well, that's the other thing. Like, again, just to go back to that phrase, I feel like that is a cop out that you weren't focused. And I get that's the whole premise. But if you're a championship team, if you have that mindset, if you carry yourself that way, you don't get beat because you were looking at like next week's opponent. And in the Big 12, as we've seen year in and year out, you can't afford to do that. So I can't imagine. I loved his answer to that. What you said. He's like, no. And this is what we like about Houston.
It helps to have a veteran group and a veteran core, and
The podcast that finishes your workday in a very Red Raider way. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Ask Tech Talk is brought to you by our friends at Visual Edge IT, Clint Scott, Dr. Mike Gustafson, Brennan Riker behind the glass, in disapproval of something. I don't know what it is. Shaking his head no. Before we get to some questions, this is good news for Lady Raider basketball. They do get Monterey's Ambrosia Cole to commit. This was just a little bit ago. She is a 4-star. If you haven't seen her here in town, she helped win a state title. So there's something if you're new to her. She was on a pretty good team and a pretty good piece to that, and is going to be a pretty good piece for another pretty good Monterey team this year. 2026 is the class that she will be in. Again, 4-star top 100 guard. You get to stay home.
Yeah, she's been talked about headed into. Obviously she was not the center of conversation, but
sure.
right behind Chavez. And again, not saying she's as good as Chavez, but she's a heck of a good player. And it's a reason why they were
double
state championship.
Yeah, it's a
team,
double in the state championship.
Right,
Good,
exactly. That's a good one to keep at home.
This on the Yates Flooring Center chat line from Lindell Jeff. The good, the bad, and the ugly whistling song, Mount Rushmore. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. I didn't think about that.
T-Bone had this question. Clint, have you seen the Houston fan base on social media, and are they still saying they're going to beat us? Dude, ever since it was, when it hit radio silent for them, halftime against Oregon State. It may still be out there, but they were vocal. They were, again, not as big as like Utah. That not. They just don't have as big of a vocal fan base. They just don't have as passionate of a fan base, to be honest. But the ones that were there were talking smack. We talked about it last week. There's a couple texters who noted, like, hey, they have you circled as their first ranked win. It was primed up to me for a very fun hate week between the two fan bases. And that game against Oregon State happened. And I think most of those that were being loud and proud dropped off real fast.
Yeah, probably a little antsy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
I would be too. If
yeah,
you switched it, I would be.
Exactly.
100%.
It's understandable. Again, but I fully expected, competitive ball game there. Hopefully we're that good to go command that thing from the very get-go.
Mm-hmm. I just, for Houston, even though I'm picking this game to be a blowout, it doesn't mean that I don't think, they're not actually better. I just think Houston hasn't been hit in the mouth yet. And you could say, well, it didn't happen with Oregon State. I mean hit in the mouth with an overly physical defense.
Right.
This is by far, and you're going to be this way for most teams in the Big 12, this is by far the best defense they'll have seen. Gus, up to now, statistically, do you know who the best defense they've seen all year is? It's Rice. It's
not
Rice.
Oregon State.
It's the Rice Owls.
Mm.
And they had an okay day against Rice. The best part about what they have done is they have upgraded the offense. Coach McGuire said it. I do think they have a couple of dudes like wide receiver Stephon Johnson is very athletic, really good playmaker. I think their best weapon by far is Tanner Koziel, the transfer tight end. He's a 6'7", big body. And then Connor Wigman has played within the offense. And he's made really good decisions, but he's made those really good decisions without being under duress. And it's kind of, I have a lot of the same thoughts about Houston that I did about Utah.
Right.
And that also goes with, maybe not, it's the exact same schematically, but they want to achieve their wins in a very similar fashion, and there's going to be some quarterback run. It's probably a little more dynamic than what Utah's offense
Both
is.
Both very well coached.
Yeah, and they're going to play some.
Both tough-minded.
Yeah, they want to be defensively. They don't want to give up anything. They're just fine playing ball control. All of that. I think there's a similar thought there.
Absolutely.
This on the chat line. Ron Washington, in quotation 74, returning to the Rangers to replace Bochy?
Come on.
I know that's not going to happen. Maybe a bench coach, perhaps.
Yeah, I think that would be unwise to bring Ron Washington in as the manager. I think that's one of those deals where it's like, hey, he served his time here.
It's okay.
He did great things. I mean, if he wants to be here as a bench coach or an assistant, that's fine, but I don't see the... I think the Rangers want to go with someone young leading the organization.
I would officially be in the camp of like, boy, you just don't have good decision making at the top of any of your Dallas-based franchises.
It's okay. That's exactly it, and it's kind of it's okay to be appreciative of someone's commitment, of someone's accomplishments, and I'll always appreciate you, Wash. Don't need to hire you.
Mm-hmm.
And his age is, he's got to be right behind Bochy, right? Because one thing about Ron Washington, he's older than Bochy, 73.
Yeah.
One thing about Ron Washington is a highly regarded infield coach, but it's 73.
And not to be mean, but you just had a manager that didn't
had
to step away in the season.
Well, I
know they're kidding,
sure. And he's exactly. Well, I mean, just to even keep him around in any capacity.
Yeah. Bullfighter had this.
You know what?
Talk.
You invite him to spring training.
Sure.
Come out there and hang around the infielders and do some stuff. Absolutely, is a neat way to put him back in under your umbrella, your loyalty. But that doesn't mean you have to hire him.
Mm-hmm.
Come back and hang out for a week. I want to pick your brain on some infielders. There.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing wrong with that.
Tech Talk, who would be the better donor? Tony Stark or Bruce Wayne?
Well, Bruce Wayne is the answer.
Both wealthy and heroes. I'm going.
Bullfighter, you're asking a question where it's about who has more money.
I'm gonna go with Tony Stark because I feel like you wanted a serious answer, right? Bruce Wayne is more likely to spend his wealth with things that like help the city, like going into like I'm gonna pay for poor housing and things like that. And Tony Stark is probably more likely to do like a flashier thing and a fun thing.
And tomorrow's question from Bullfighter for Ask Tech Talk will be which DC character would best fit on the Texas Tech football team? Or which
I'm glad you asked that question. Great question. Cyborg. No, the Flash. There you go.
Yeah,
sorry, now we can't ask it. I've already answered it.
Yeah, we're just getting it out of the way for Bullfighter.
Yes.
Do you have an answer?
No.
Boch is only 70. Spring chicken.
Well, he is a spring chicken in life, but it's the you're working.
I'm 70.
Every year he gets a year older, and the kids stay the same, right?
This has been the Tech Talk Podcast, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Check out our library of Double T 97.3 podcasts at doublet97.3.com.